Hey Charlie,
Hey Jimmy.
why don't Tuscan Raiders laugh very often?
I don't know.
Because they have a dry sense of humor.
That's the best one yet.
I figured you
Hello,
britches liked
Star
that
Wars
one.
fans. It's brilliant. I love that one. Hello, Star Wars fans, and welcome to episode 90, where we're going into lightsabers.
Wanna buy some death stick?
Jedi.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
Always a pleasure to meet a Jedi.
And my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
You failed, Your Highness. I'm a Jedi.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 90. And as always, thank you for joining me, Jack, Jimmy, and Charlie here at Explore the Force. It's been a busy week. Let's start with you, Jimmy. How's it been, buddy?
Non-stop BS. Am I allowed to say that on this family-friendly show?
Yeah,
No.
you're good.
Yes, just insane. I'm ready for, and then I've got an even longer week this week. I'm not sure how it's possible. And things just keep piling up, but I do enjoy the break that we get when we do this. So I appreciate the time we get to spend together. This is, something I always look forward to. So pretty pumped for that. But yeah, it has been a rough week. So, what about you, Charlie? Hopefully you've had a better week than I did.
I have had a slightly better week. I got my hair done, so I'm having a great time. New hair, new
Totally
me, fully in
fetch.
my brunette era. Thanks, guys. Stop it. No, I've had a good week so far, and as always, I love capping it off with chatting to you guys about Star Wars. Jack, how have you been? Have you been busy?
Yes, probably about the same as Jimmy, if not a little bit less so. It's been chaos here as well, where I've been non-stop work. The socials have been non-stop, which is absolutely amazing. We've been pushing loads of content out, and I keep pinching myself. It's just three of us doing this, and it's like 10 people's worth of work. And we've all got
Mhm.
day jobs, etc., and lives that we're living. It's just chaos. I don't know how we're doing it, but we're still doing it, and we're on episode 90. On that, let's jump into this week's Force Encounters.
For my ally is the Force.
Okay, so this week's Force Encounters, for those that have been following the social medias, I've been going absolutely crazy about Festival of the Force, and what a event it was. I went up there with Mark Newbold from Fan for Tracks, and as we were pulling up, the queue to get in, and this is just the cars at the minute, was out the gate, down the road, and almost on the motorway we'd just come off. It was surreal. For an event that was the first time it's ever been organised, it's a brand new company. Amazing job. Absolutely amazing. The stands, the props, the cosplays. There was East Midlands Garrison were there. Joker Squad was there. Droid Builders UK. There was live panels going on. There was live music whilst we was walking around by the incredible Blues Harvest and YT 1300. And the guests that they had, from Guy Henry to Brian Herring, Dave Chapman, loads, absolutely loads. It's all over the socials, so get on those. Look at the videos I've posted. Hopefully, I've done another good job of making everyone that couldn't attend feel like they were there with me. Honestly, though, I cannot give them a shout out enough. It was just unreal. Big event. It's going to be happening again. Look out on the socials. Please, honestly, if you get time and in the UK, or you're coming over to the UK, get to Festival of the Force. I could literally sit here and talk about it all week. The only thing I will say, of all my purchases and all that good stuff for the stands, I did pick up a new massive Star Wars book. It's a Legends one. I do like
Nice.
my Legends stuff. But it's all about Mara Jade. It's the New Republic stuff, Shadows of the Empire stuff's in there. It's after the Return of the Jedi. Yeah, can't wait to dive into this bad boy. So big shout out to Inkstone Books. I know they're close friends of ours as well. But yeah, absolutely incredible. And one final mention, sorry, is Jay Manchan's art. I don't know if you've seen the Ahsoka post I put up and
Mm.
the Moff Tarkin. That guy is a Jedi with a paintbrush. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. But like I said, I could go on and on and on, and I'm not going to. But yeah, big shout out to Festival of Force for that amazing event. Charlie, what about you?
Unlike Jack, I have not had any Force encounters this week, unfortunately, but I have been thinking about how much I miss Skeleton Crew. That's sort of been on my mind for a good couple of weeks now since it's finished. I miss it. I'm going to settle in and have a really big rewatch because I miss it so, so much. Give me news now. Tell me there's a season 2 now, please and thank
Mm,
you. Jimmy,
yeah.
have you had any Force encounters this week? Because I
I've
think Jack's had
barely
enough for all three of us.
had yeah, no kidding. Barely had time. I realized that I have a Disney Plus addiction. We changed carriers for our phone, so we lost our Disney Plus, and I just haven't had time to like re-up it. Um, and I didn't realize how often I put it on and put something Star Wars on in the background. And so not having it, I was like, what do I watch? Like, what do I put on? You know, that was kind of weird.
Mm.
And I did get the Timelines book. I was on sale and I picked it up. Um,
Nice.
and so I like on Sunday, I got up because we had a really busy day, and I got up extra early so I could just kind of crack that thing open. And I got through almost all the High Republic part. That book is worth the purchase. Um,
Mm.
some stuff in there that I don't know what it is. Like there's these
Yeah.
events, like because they does the Dawn of the Jedi, and it's real something I wanted to talk to you guys about, like later on about topics and things like that. But there are certain events and where they kind of broke it down, knowing where was it Dave Mangold? Is it Dave Mangold?
Yeah.
Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie is going to
Yeah.
start like 25,000 years ago. So it was kind of cool that. And then it jumps into kind of like some of the High Republic stuff. I haven't gotten any like moderns, Star Wars stuff, but I think that book is an excellent buy. I know that it was on sale here in the United States on Amazon. Um, and I got it, and it was one of those ones that I will meticulously go through, probably get through it once, then go back and make notes, and we'll talk about stuff that I find on the show because
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really all I had time. I had to kind of carve out some time to do that on Sunday morning. But um, we're not the only ones that have been busy. There's been a lot of things happening uh, in the Star Wars galaxy. So let's head over to Batu and see what's coming out of there.
The people in this crowd will soon be among almost 40,000.
For those who are among the 900 with news media or promotional tickets, the sneak preview probably would be the only chance to see The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, so the first bit of news that we got is the Saturn Awards have come and gone, with Star Wars dominating as always. So best animated television series special has gone to Star Wars The Bad Batch. So congratulations to everybody involved in that. Best actress in a television series, Rosario Dawson, who played Ahsoka. Again, congratulations to her. Big well done. And best guest star in a TV series is Mark Hamill on The Fall of the House of Usher as Arthur Gordon Pym. Never seen it, never heard of it, but congratulations to him. What do we think about that, guys?
Go Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, go Star Wars, 100%. Hell yeah for the Bad Batch. Absolutely
Yeah.
hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Well deserved.
Yeah, I think so too. So this one, that's a lot of positive. So let's talk about a negative. The Galactic Cruiser is being rebuilt into office space.
Can you remember
What?
when we did this episode, Jimmy? Can you remember when we did it? When we spoke
We
about the cruiser?
Yes, and we thought it was insane because there's no
Yeah.
way most normal people could afford it.
Yeah.
I could fly to Italy from the United States and have a beautiful vacation for less than it would have cost me to go down for what was it, like a day, 2.5 days, or not even full 2 days of
Mm,
it. It was an asinine thing to build at that cost point. I know maybe they
yeah.
were, they thought there'd be enough wealthy people, but not. I don't know that. I mean, for two people, it was like $5,000.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder because they had insurance on it. Maybe they just bit off more than they can chew.
Yeah,
Things
I
didn't
think so,
work
bro.
out. And then sometimes you wonder, like, did they build it on purpose? They got this land developed. They have all these things that they need, and now they can
Yeah.
get new office space, and they got money for it. I don't know how all that business works, but it just seems. I mean, it wasn't even a full year, was it? That it stayed open? I think it was like.
I don't think so.
Mm.
So yeah, what a waste of money. What a waste. I mean, would I've liked to have done it? Hell, absolutely yes.
Yeah.
Would I have spent the money to do it? Probably not. I'd rather come
Mm.
Yeah.
over and see something. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer that
Yeah.
you know it's not there
Yeah.
anymore, and it didn't work out. Will we see something like that again? Do you guys think they'll try again? They'll try something
Mhm.
different? Because the concept's
Nah,
really, really cool. Like you're living Star Wars, but
I get the concept, but even with that, mate, there's like I'm sure I'll probably brought it up. Is there's no longevity in it. Once you've done it, you've done it. I don't think they
Yeah.
do different scenarios, different days, or anything like that. Like Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, you can go there loads of different times, and you always find
And
something
have
new.
lots of different.
Yeah, there's loads going on. Different cosplays are going on, coming out. You 100% will have a different experience. But I think with that, it costs so much, like you said. I think it was more aimed towards the middle class, and I hate to use society like high class, low class, middle class, but it's definitely aimed towards the middle class. And
Mm.
like you said, Jimmy, we love our wives, but they won't let us pay that amount.
yeah, I mean, as a massive Star Wars fan, I still couldn't wrap my head around spending that kind of money. I mean, I flew to England for Celebration, tickets, housing, food, and it probably wasn't even half of that, maybe.
Yeah,
So I mean, you say middle class, I say upper middle class to maybe,
yeah,
you know, um, I, you know,
it's crazy.
it's crazy.
It's a great place to go and work now, I guess. But another point as well about that is the actual facility itself is actually nowhere near the park either. It's like quite a distance away to get there. So if you're
Mhm.
trying to do two things at once when it was going on, I suppose that was pretty difficult. So. But yeah, in other news, unfortunately, we've lost another Star Wars legend in the guise of Carrie Fisher's French bulldog, Gary, which is never easy for anyone, regardless. Pets are like family. So again, our thoughts are with all affected at this time. Little Gary, infamous. We put a social media post up of him chasing Warwick off the stage at Celebration,
Yeah.
which is freaking hilarious. And I love Carrie Fisher's little laugh at when he first starts barking at him. Absolutely, insane. But yeah, unfortunate news.
Man. Um, Good news. Kathleen Kennedy and her husband Frank will be honored at the U.S. Ireland Alliance's Oscar Wilde Awards. I
Ooh.
don't know exactly what that is. You can say what you want about this woman, right? I know
Mhm.
there's people that hate her, people that love her. She has probably made more money as a movie producer than anyone ever,
Yes.
given the
Yeah,
movies that she's been part of and the things that she's done for
Mhm.
them. Has she done everything perfect with Star Wars? Maybe not, but none of us would have either,
yeah,
right? So, that's cool. I don't know exactly what the award is for. I do apologize not having a chance to really look that up, but I think she deserves recognition. I mean, she's a powerful, woman in the workforce, the head of Lucasfilm. I mean, these are things that I can have girls in my classes, girls on my teams can aspire to be.
yeah,
They have people they can look up to, um, and especially in Star Wars too. You know what I mean? Like, you put all the other stuff aside. And I know, like, I don't always agree with
mhm,
everything she's done either, but I still respect the heck out of her for the job
yeah.
she's done. And how, because I couldn't handle the criticism. I'd be fighting
It's not
everybody,
an easy job. Yeah,
right? So,
yeah,
congratulations to her and her husband, Frank. I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
yeah. Well deserved. Like you said,
No,
Jim, it's not an easy job.
absolutely.
So yeah, kudos to Kathleen and her husband Frank. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely massive, massive congratulations. Oh my goodness. We have some Young Jedi Adventure news. Season 2 has been given its final episodes in March and Nub Shorts in February after starting in the summer of 2024. Nubs Nation Unite. Another small, blue, adorable child creature for us to be obsessed over. Yes, a win
Yeah,
for
that
Star
that
Wars.
program's gone from strength to strength as well. To be fair, I
Hmm.
can't believe it's. I've not watched any myself. I've tried to get my daughter
Oh, it's
Tessa. She's
precious.
only 9 into it, but she's not sold into it. She'd much rather watch like the live action stuff. But yeah, have you seen anything,
Smart girl.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I've watched a bunch of the first episodes with my nephews, and they really loved it. I am concerned though because we have like these warehouse like bargain places you can go to, and like for
Hmm.
Christmas they always have stuff, and they had tons and tons and tons of Young Jedi Adventure toys.
Oh
And
boy.
that's never a good
Oh,
sign. Um, I just don't know if kids play with toys the way they used to. I don't know if my nephews would have wanted those or not. But what I've seen, I've liked. I mean, seeing Load and Great Storm made me sad because I know what's going to happen
Yeah,
to him shortly
yeah.
after, and stuff like that. But it's a fun little tie-in. And I think that
Mm.
the right age. I mean, my nephews are pretty young, and they kind of got it was cute. I don't know if they knew exactly what was going on, but it was Star Wars, and like Charlie said, cute little blue people running around. So I'll finish it eventually. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Just neat little to sit down and when I get my Disney Plus back.
Oh, brilliant.
um, okay, so this week we thought we would end on some positive news, and we've been all over this like an emotional roller coaster of news here, goods and bads and everything like that. But um,
Mhm.
May 22nd, 2026, which seems like an eternity from now. Excuse me. We will see the release of the long-awaited Mandalorian Grogu. It's been being screened on IMAX, and they're filming it on those cameras, I'm assuming. So it'll be fully crisp and full of details, and I can't wait. I can't
Yes.
wait for Star Wars in the theater. I don't care what it is. Give it to me. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the
Yes.
whole Star Wars fandom is crying out for the same thing, don't you, Charlie?
Yes, I 100% agree. Give it to me now. I don't You're telling me I have to wait until 2026? Nah. Mm-mm.
That'll fly by. That'll
that's like
fly
a
by.
year
I'm
and a half.
packing
Awesome.
into Lucasfilm. I'm doing it.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, that wraps up then this week's news. Okay, so joining us this week to talk things about lightsabers is the lightsaber makers themselves. Coming in hot, it's Dan from the incredible AllSabers gang. Hello, Dan. Welcome to the show. Already playing with lightsabers, I can see. How's things?
I could just never put a lightsaber down, right?
Love it. Just for the listeners,
Doing
Dan,
great.
can you let them know who you are? And obviously, the floor is yours for about 2 minutes or so. And just promote your company, mate. Feel free.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Dan. I'm based in Canada on the West Coast. And my other teammate, Tim, couldn't be here today. He's from the UK. And so we've made this company called AllSabers. I actually started in the saber vendor space March of last year, running a company called Nerd Armor. And Tim and I, we loved what each other was doing on the social space. We thought, you know what, let's team up. And so I rebranded and we made AllSabers together. So it became kind of this joint venture. Um, and we knew that when we started a saber company, because there's lots out there, we knew we had to be different. We knew we kind of had to stand out if this was something that was going to last. And so a huge focus of what we do is not just selling sabers, but providing great deals,
Yeah.
promoting cosplayers, promoting the fandom as a whole, and making sure that we're focusing a lot on positivity. If there's criticism, constructive criticism, not bashing anyone's opinions. We wanted to make sure that we kept that heart going forward, and it's kind of why we chose a kyber crystal as kind of our logo. Is it's the heart of a lightsaber, so that's the process that we followed. We've got several suppliers. We don't make the lightsabers ourselves. We're not custom saber designers or builders. We do have a couple of exclusives that we've brought on into our catalog, but our goal is to provide all sabers to all fans. So whether you can afford a really expensive one or afford a fun spinning one for a hobby, the idea is so that everyone can get
It's
a
them
saber and
tariffs.
have fun with it. Yeah, well, that's going to be interesting, hey?
Mm.
It's them
Yeah,
tariffs, man.
yeah, we're going to have to see what we can do about that. Yeah, yeah. So that's over here.
Okay, awesome to hear, Dan. Obviously, as well, for the listeners that are listening to this episode, if you head over to their website now as well and put in explore_10, you will get a discount on any of the lightsabers that you are choosing. So again, make sure you get over there for all your cosplay needs, or if you're like me and just like lightsaber fights with your kids, get over there to AllSabers. Over to you, Jimmy.
All right. So we got Dan here for a reason, right? Lightsaber experts. We are here to talk about lightsabers, one of the things that makes Star Wars Star Wars. We want to talk about some of our favorite battles and designs and things like that. So,
Mhm.
you say it's an easy question, Jack, but I'm not sure that it is. But here's our first question: if you could choose your own kyber crystal color, what would it be and why? And I don't know about you guys, but like I've always seen these things online, but there's no canon definition that I could find, right? If
No.
you go to
Okay.
Wikipedia, there's no canon. But people on Reddit are all experts. They know more than everybody else. Um, so I was kind of like, what do we base this off of? Just because it looks cool, or we're going to go off one of those things. I like the dark saber. I think it would be cool to have a regular saber that looks black.
Mhm.
I find myself when I'm playing Jedi Fallen Order or Survivor, for some reason running around with a yellow saber, which I don't know why. I just think it looks cool. So maybe the yellow and the black is just me being a Steelers fan or something like that and working that out personally. But yeah, I think I would go. And I had heard somewhere that like yellow had meant, and I know it's not official, but it was like a protector kind of.
Mm,
Mhm.
And so I kind of like that idea of just defending the people. If you're an actual Jedi, that's kind of what your business is. So for me, I'm going to say yellow and or black, given the fact that I'm surprised that there's not any canon explanations as of yet. Um, but Charlie, what would you run around as Ray a lot? So what was your kyber crystal color be?
So, like you, Jimmy, I kind of struggled over this question for a period of time, but ultimately, and this is going to be such a predictable answer, it's going to have to be blue. Not only is it the saber color of my two favorite Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Rey, but for me specifically, it represents like everything good and true about the Jedi. It's majestic and it's powerful and it's just beautiful. 10 out of 10 for that lightsaber color.
Nice. I thought you were going to say yellow, if I'm being honest. Nice.
No,
There you
it's got to
go.
be blue. It's got to be
All
blue.
right.
Nice.
Very cool. What about you, Jack?
easy one for me. It's got to be purple.
Oh,
Straight off the bat.
you and your
Has
bromance
to be
with Mace
purple.
Windu.
Yeah, it's just so cool and unique. Apart from Vanessa Rowe, obviously, but yeah, so unique. I absolutely love it. Purple for me, nice and easy.
Mm.
What about you then, Dan?
Yeah, I really like yellow, simply because it's unique. When we saw it for the first time in live action, I just thought that it just was a fresh take. Um,
Mm,
you know, with blue being kind of the kind of the fallback, personally, but I'd have to
yeah,
say yellow is my top. It's because it's different.
Nice.
It's a little bit unique. Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
There we
There you
go.
go.
Charlie's got all the colours.
There you go. Cool.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, Charlie's already swinging lightsabers about. She's got blue, she's
Uh,
got yellow.
How could I not? How could I not bring all of my toys with me to a discussion about literally the coolest prop ever in the history of Star Wars and cinema?
It really
That's a
is.
valid point. That is a
Yeah.
very valid point. Charlie, next question over to you.
Next question over to me. Oh, this is a really good one. I am a huge nerd about lightsaber stances and how the different Jedi across Star Wars use them and utilize them. If you could choose a style or a stance specifically, I'm sure you're aware of some of them, if not all of them. What would you guys pick? Because for me specifically, this is something I've thought about for quite a while. I would have like some kind of saber staff that you can also split into two lightsabers, so I would end up dual wielding. It would be very much that, specifically with elements of form too, which is I did write all of this down, which is mostly used by Qui-Gon and Shakti, I believe. It's very ballet,
Yeah,
very fluid, very flowing. Yeah, that's my set answer. Jack, tell me all
nice.
about it, please.
Yeah, so okay, so you going with a dual wield sort of
Hmm.
stance, are you? Okay, yeah, nice. So I would love to do the same, or double-bladed lightsaber. However, for those that know me, I am so clumsy, and I would definitely dismember myself. So I need to keep it. I'm being realistic, and I'm keeping it simple and stupid. So I'm gonna go with the Form One at Shincho. Nice and steady. Nothing too crazy. Single blade. Just work my way through. Like, I'm telling you, honestly, I will walk and fall over nothingness. So me and a lightsaber would be a recipe for disaster. As much as I'd love to own one. So yeah, Form One, nice and simple, just a single blade, uh, pretty much like Kit Fister, and we all know how he ended up. What about you,
Mm,
Jimmy?
Yeah, looking this up now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Before we did this, I knew the forms and things like that. The only one I really knew was the one that Mace uses because I always use it against him as being a bad Jedi. Um,
Yeah,
and so tapping into the dark side or whatever. But it is pretty interesting. So I'm reading through these, and you can find all this stuff on Wikipedia. It's pretty awesome. But Form 6. It's considered the most popular lightsaber combat form in the Jedi Order. It balances the qualities presented in all the other forms and lacked any of their major weaknesses. And it kind of seems like it's like a mix between balance and offense, or I'm sorry, offense and defense. And it just kind of
mm,
learn, you can use your creativity with the Force with it. So I think that
yeah,
like
mhm,
that's kind of where I would be at. Um, you know, just kind of horsing around with that. I mean, it's kind of a cop out answer, really, because it's like, oh, it's the best of everything with no weaknesses, but it has no like superior strength either. You're kind of a neutral. You got good defense, you got good offense, you can hold your own. Then you just got to be creative with the
yeah,
Force, and I think that's kind of what separates. As much as I love the High Republic, I think that's what separates a lot of those Jedi during those books, and how they use the Force and how they see the Force. So I kind of like that. That view of it, bring your own personality into it a little bit. So for me, yeah, Form 6, it's like Neiman or Nyman. I'm sure it sounds cooler when you say it in Star Wars world, but that's how I'm pronouncing it
mhm.
here in Kansas. So, um, Dan, what about you? What would you, where would you go with this?
My first thought was Jarkai, Jarkai, just because of the dual wield stance. Playing playing some of the games where you can have the sabers connected and split. That was a really
yeah,
that I have that in my notes. But being a big fan of Obi-Wan, Form 3 Soresu, or however you pronounce it, he was kind of a key user of that one. And
yeah,
in the Revenge of the Sith books, just the way that they describe Obi-Wan's style of combat is, he really focused on making sure that he he wasn't he really didn't have any actual weakness when it came to his combat. He was very
yeah,
balanced and careful. So, yeah, I would probably say that Soresu would be kind of my main way of focusing on it. And a lot of ones who like spin sabers, they're really using that form because the whole point of it is like deflecting blaster bolts and stuff. So when you're
yeah.
seeing the Obi Annie and all of that, that move, you're really seeing like a lot of Form 3. So I'd have to say probably that one would be my default because I'd probably be pretty clumsy and you know cut a
Dan's
limb
with
off or
me.
something. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
Dan's with me. Dan's with me. Nice. So we've gone through colours for the kyber crystals. We've gone through our stances and sort of the design to an extent. We're going to dive a bit more into these lightsaber designs. Now, there's hundreds of lightsaber designs, especially now with the High Republic being released. So, there's an absolute plethora to choose from. I'm going to start us off with the sort of design that I'd go for. And again, it sort of ties in with my reasoning beyond my stance as well. Safety first. I would love to have one of those Inquisitor blades that spins around, but again, it wouldn't end well. Um, so I got to keep it nice and simple, and I like the design because it is quite slick and it's very personal to the person that designed it as well. And I'm going to go for Cal Kestis lightsaber. I'm a
Mm.
big fan of this. Obviously, you get to customize it throughout the game. I know Dan, you just mentioned there you can pull it in half, which is again phenomenal. But I just like the sleek design. I like the guard around where the ignition happens and comes out. And you've got the leather straps on the handle. You know, it's such a simplistic design, but for me, it it sort of represents as well everything I think that Cal's gone through up until that point and going through as well. There's a lot of personality in everyone's lightsaber design wise. You know, there are some absolutely beautiful lightsabers out there, and not to steal anyone's thunder in case they've already chosen it now. But a close second runner up for me would be Count Dooku's one as well. I absolutely love the curve on it as well. Very majestic approach. How he wields it, you know, incredible as it is. But yeah, for me, if I'm gonna have to choose a lightsaber to put all this together with, it's gonna be Cal Kestis' lightsaber. What about you, Jimmy?
All right, yeah, this one is tough for me because I love the High Republic. I don't like a lot of the designs; they're too like medieval for me.
Yeah,
Then I think about I am a little bit older than you guys, a lot older than you guys. So growing up with like Kenobi, and I didn't have a lot of lightsabers to choose from when until
yeah,
later on, in the late '90s, early 2000s. Um, I love Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? He's like, one of my top three Star Wars characters, tied for first with Ahsoka and Chewie. But I would love his, but I would like a combination because I know we kind of talked about like, would you want like a double bladed or do you want to pull it apart, kind of like what Charlie said? I I
mm,
hate the design in Rebels, but Ezra's blaster slash saber I think it's
yeah,
genius, right?
Yeah.
So I'd like to redesign it, but I think that's how I would go, like some kind of combination of Kenobi
okay,
with like maybe you could attach something to it or something like that. But
yeah,
I just love that combination of like we talked about a little bit like what you want to do with it, and I think that would be an
yeah,
um, excellent way to, especially with the form I picked, being creative and catching people off guard. I think that would be pretty awesome. I don't like the way Ezra's saber looks. You know,
yeah,
it's clunky and stuff like that. But I like the idea behind it. So I think that's kind of where I would go. It would be like a mix between Kenobi and Ezra, and I think that would be Dan. I'd love to see some kind of concept art of like what is like. I saw your eyes, like I'm just like he's like, oh man, I never like what does that look like kind of deal. So um, yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. But Charlie, what about
nice.
you?
Oh, this one is another one that I absolutely poured over, but I have to give a special mention specifically to the designs in The Rise of Skywalker. These are both the sabers that get barely seconds of screen time between the two of them, but Leia's lightsaber from the flashback
Oh
scene
yeah,
is
that one's great.
absolutely breathtaking. It's
Yeah,
elegant and modern, but with so many nods to the kind of classic design elements that we saw in the original trilogy. It has nods to Luke's saber with that thin neck design, also like nods to Obi-Wan
mm,
as well. And the mother of pearl
yeah,
inlay on the handle is breathtaking. But my ultimate lightsaber design, it has to be dark ray saber. Like I said, it gets about six
Oh,
seconds of
that
screen time. I remember counting it for an edit once, but it is incredible. The drop hinge, absolutely insane. It mirrors Maul's like double lightsaber ignition. It's the same as Pon Krell's lightsabers, which I don't see people talk enough about. Super cool designs. It's silver and red and black, and it's all these bits of Vader, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. It is utterly, utterly breathtaking, and I don't see the lightsaber designs in that film get enough love as they should because
that's
they are
a
perfection in my mind, perfection.
really
Dan,
great
tell me
point.
what your faves are.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So, from a style standpoint, I'd have to say it's called a guard shoto. In Legends, it's called a tonfa. So it basically looks like a nightstick with a lightsaber
okay,
coming out of the other end.
Nice.
So you can, you've got the saber and then you've got this perpendicular handle that you can hold on to, and then you can really spin it
yeah,
around. Super cool. So from a style perspective of an overall shape, I think that would probably be my top. Um, what I'm actually going to do is get some pieces because I can custom build sabers with our parts, and we're actually going to have a build your own feature on our site.
It's flexing. Dan's flexing.
But no, I'm just saying, and you can attach this tonfa, perpendicular attachment and swing it around, and you just don't see it on
Nice.
any saber spinning videos. It's extremely rare. I think there's one video. There's one creator on TikTok I follow, and he regularly uses a tonfa style, which is really neat. But yeah, nobody else I've seen does it.
Nice.
Yeah, Charlie, you made some great points about Dark Ray's saber. That's such an elegant piece, and the fact that you can, if you held it when it's folded, it's kind of like Plo Koon's original saber concept that they came up with.
Yes.
Yeah,
He's got this wrist guard attachment, and yeah, so I would actually love to have a gauntlet creation like that, and just a couple of shorter blades on the end. That would be really neat.
It's like Wolverine on steroids.
Pretty much. Imagine having two of those. Yeah.
There's so many different types of lightsaber designs out there. I know you mentioned the Tonfa one because you see that in the Force Unleashed as well. I came across that when I was doing a bit of digging on the internet. Another interesting one I came across was a Rancor tooth one. That's in some legends. That looks pretty gnarly. One you mentioned, obviously, Plo Koon's Gauntlet, which was original concept for him. And another one, I can't believe no one's mentioned it, and I know Mike is quite a big fan of it. Gungi, is it Gungi?
Gungi.
How did you pronounce it?
Gungi.
That's it. Gungi's
Yes.
lightsaber with the wood. And I was looking at that online. I was like, that is really nice.
Yeah, Mike loves that.
Yeah, I can see why as well. It is really nice, and I know we've only just got Dan on, but just looking at that Kanan lightsaber with the green and that, I'm just like, oh god, that's up there as well. Yeah, absolutely love that one. But yeah,
be curious to see what Ezra does. Oh, not what Ezra does in season 2 of Ahsoka. Like now that he has that, that kind of that combo. He has the other piece to Kanan. So I wonder, color nod or something like that. That's going to be exciting. And Charlie, that was an excellent point. There are so many cool sabers in the sequels, but we see them for even I love Rey's design. I kind of predicted that staff I thought she was going to have a dual bladed because of the way she liked her staff. But you see it for point. I'm hoping that if we ever get a Rey movie and they ever find a writer to lock down, that we get to see it again. But yeah, that dark Rey saber, man, I never really thought about those concepts. There are some beautiful lightsabers in there that we never see. I'm going to throw you guys a curveball before we get into this last question. So no one's had the question. No one's prepared for it. And it just kind of popped into my head because I've been doing some research with Ralph McQuarrie stuff the other day. Originally, because the stormtroopers, how they have that little round thing in the back of their suit. And you guys all know this. Everybody was supposed to have lightsabers.
Yeah.
Would it have taken away from how special they are if it would have worked? It would, because it's well documented what a pain in the butt these lightsaber battles are. Because the very first one we get is pretty, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of lame. But we're all like, oh my gosh, Would it have taken away from sabers and the beauty of Star Wars if everyone had them? What do you guys think? I honestly, I don't. I think it would kind of. I mean, I do love the fact, when we talk about the High Republic, that everyone has their own designs. I liked some of the stuff from the Acolyte too. I thought that was pretty cool. You got the prequels books, you got those lightsaber books, and they're always real similar. It's kind of cool to see how they're like cars or houses where there's a kind of there's a kind of style that people follow. But would it take away if stormtroopers and just everyone had one? What do you guys think? Will we be talking about this?
Yeah, I think to answer your question, I'm going to ask a question as well, sort of like a politician is. I definitely think so, and this is the reason why, right? If they released the films in chronological order, you'd have definitely felt like when it gets to the originals and maybe the prequels, you'd have been a bit bored of lightsabers. Reason being, in my eyes, when you first see that lightsaber in the originals, and it's only one, and then you get Vader's, it's like wow. Now, when we had the prequels come out, obviously we had Phantom Menace, we had Darth Maul, absolute banger come on the show, and everyone blew their minds. But then we had Attack of the Clones with the Geonosian Arena, and we had loads of lightsabers going off. So I think in the order that they've done the films, helped with how the lightsabers
Mm.
were treasured, if that's the right word, I think. So it's an absolutely amazing point, Jimmy. I still don't think the stormtroopers would have hit anything with lightsabers anyway, but that's that's still my personal opinion. What about you, Charlie? Anything to build on that?
I would have to agree with you. There is something in cinema, film, television, even novels and comic books called the rule of cool. And it's this universal idea that something can't make itself cool. It just inherently is cool by how
Yeah.
it's accepted, how it's brought about in society, how it's spoken about, how it impacts people and viewers. And the one really special thing about the lightsabers in Star Wars that makes them so cool is because they are specific. They are only for a specific group of people within the world. It's not overused to the
Mm,
point of exhaustion. And yeah, I think, like Jack said, the way the films were released and the way the story's been told, if we'd have been given the fight on Geonosis in like Empire Strikes Back, I worry that the lightsabers wouldn't have had such a powerful impact. I mean, it's reached a point now where if you pick up an empty roll of cardboard from a wrapping paper, that is a lightsaber. That universally translates across all ages, all
yeah.
demographics, all genders. That is a lightsaber. And if we'd have started Star Wars with everybody having lightsabers the way all stormtroopers have blasters, I do feel like it would have taken away some of that inherent
Yeah.
coolness that's become
Yeah.
so permeated throughout everything.
It's an excellent
Yeah.
point. Yeah, kind of like Boba Fett, the rule of cool kind of thing. Like he was just supposed to
Hmm.
be a nobody, and then blown
Mm,
up
Yeah.
into what he is. That's an excellent point. I like that. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I think exclusivity lends itself to being something that's just much more attractive to us in a fictional
yeah.
construct, and in real life too. You don't see such a huge attraction to necessarily the Han Solo blaster, right? Just because everyone else
Yeah.
has blasters. It might be
Yeah.
cool because it's got its own style, right? You got like Dark Saber, which is all on its own, super unique, one of its kind, that kind of concept.
Yeah.
So yeah, I fully agree. I think that was a very good call for them when they were producing everything, the first film, for them to limit it just to a set group. Yeah,
Yeah.
huge. That was
Yeah.
I never thought of that concept before. That's a huge impact, I think.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's a great question, that is, Jimmy. I love that.
It's kind of
I
popped
love
into my
that
head.
very
We
much.
watched
Nice.
looking at some Ralph McQuarrie stuff, and I think it's like Han Solo's with a saber in his hand in one of these photos. I'm like, well, that would be crazy if he had a saber and stormtroopers all were busting out the saber. I mean, I guess it's just like Star Wars, though. It all worked out. I know that like Lucas
Yeah.
was mad because he couldn't get it what he wanted, but like it did work out. I mean, just kind of
Yeah.
magical how things lined up for this film. So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a great point, mate. It's such an iconic thing, a lightsaber is. I mean, you look at the Acolyte trailer back at Celebration as well, mate.
oh
That
yeah,
scene where they're all lighting it up, good to go. Oh my God, I lost my
Mm.
mind. Along with like 1,000 other people as well. And again, if stormtroopers have had all lightsabers and they've just been, you know, lightsabers everywhere, those sort of things wouldn't have the effect that they do now. So great question, Jimmy. Great question. Awesome. Right. So the last thing that we're going to cover, might probably have a few more questions as well, to be fair, if we think of anything. But the last thing we're going to cover officially, it's going to be like a rundown of our top 3 lightsaber battles. Now, again, we've got a whole host to choose from, and we've got a whole host of us to go through it all. I'll start us off. We'll work from number 3. We'll go around the table, and then we'll go
Mm.
twos, then ones, and then we'll close it down. So, yes, number 3. And again, this is from movies, TVs, animations, even visions, if you've got
Ooh.
any in your top 3. So there's
Mhm.
loads and loads to choose from. So start us off nice and easy for me. And again, it might be a little, well, I know it is controversial with people because I put it on the Instagram, but it's going to be the throne room scene, lightsaber battle with Rey and Kylo. Just the feels, when you can see the lightsaber moving and it's twitching, you're thinking, what is going on here? And then Snoke gets the good news, and Kylo gets the lightsaber. And again, it's that powerful image, and it ties in perfectly with the question Jimmy just brought up. It's game time. The music kicks in, the
Mhm.
Praetorians are coming over. Rey and Kylo are just, they're just having fun, if you like. The sequencing's awesome. I know that people have got their flaws and their faults, but yeah, whatever, see past it. It's Star Wars. Um, I absolutely love that scene. So for me, coming at 3 is going to be the throne room scene with Rey and Kylo Ren. Let's go over to you, Charlie. What have you got at your number 3?
My number 3 is a Chimera versus the Jedi in the Acolyte. I don't know what I was expecting from that scene, but what I got absolutely blew my mind. I haven't felt that invested and
Yeah,
excited about lightsaber combat since like Revenge of the Sith. It was quick, it was
nice.
punchy, it was terrifying, but it was also so unbelievably slick. Manny Jacinto, you are a hero. You are an absolute hero. That was some fantastic choreography work. Just absolutely mind blowing. I feel like I'm starting on my number 1. I can only go up from here.
Love it.
So
That
good.
is a great choice.
So
That is a
good.
great choice. I've got a feeling that might have been Jimmy's due to his reaction. So if they're watching on YouTube, you'll definitely be like, yeah, that's probably Jimmy's. What have you got, Jimmy, at number 3?
Let me think. Yeah, I put, and I struggled with this because like I don't have any like original trilogy stuff because I was gonna, what do we look for, in these
Mm,
battles? Because like we got these, in episode 4 you don't get much of a lightsaber battle, and then in 3, Luke and Vader, that's really cool, but does it stand up to these other things? And action scene wise, I kind of just went with action scene and feels,
yeah,
and we all know I love Jackie, and seeing her get 3-hole punched, and that whole fight, the whole fight
the
scene,
dirty
like
style.
I kind of talked like what Charlie said. It was like I don't remember being surprised
Yeah.
by any lightsaber battles. That one totally caught me off guard because you had all your red shirts that you hadn't.
Mm,
No one's naming anybody or anything like that. And then so you're like, oh yeah, Yord and Jecki are walking out of this maybe hurt. And then he does
yeah.
what he does to all of them, and the fighting itself is glorious. Like Daphne
Yeah.
King, oh my god, like it
Yes.
blows my mind that she's no longer in Star Wars because like I felt like she was like the next Ahsoka, like she was gonna fill this
Yeah.
gap,
Yeah.
and then of course, we had Tessa Gratton on who's like, I watched that episode while writing the book and was like, what the So I'm gonna go with the Acolyte for the same reasons. I have not been shocked by like
Nice.
my number 2. I kind of saw it coming, but yeah, I was
Yeah.
just stunned by it, and then the brutality of it too was just bonkers. So,
Mhm.
Dan, what about you? Dan, is yours the Acolyte as well?
If we're talking bottom 3 of the top 3, I would say my third top would be the Ahsoka versus Maul on the Siege of
Nice.
Mandalore.
Lawless.
you know, uh,
Mhm.
it was their first one to do mocap in animation. Incredible. And for Ray Park to reprise his role in mocap like that was just brilliant. They just did such a great job with that, and the build up to it, they just executed it just wonderfully. Yeah.
Awesome, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Great choices, Danny. You just stole my number 2 as well. This is that was my number
We
2.
all have
That was
very
my number 2. It's all right. I've got a few more I can reel off anyway. But yeah, yeah, awesome. So my number 2 was gonna be that. However, lightsaber battles for me was for number 2 again, like you just said there, Dan. It was the episode Lawless with Ahsoka and Maul. But however, it's going to stick with animation, and my number 2 is going to be Maul again, but this time Rebels with the Inquisitors. How
Ooh.
he just lays waste to them. My boy Maul, my favorite character in the whole of Star Wars. There's no messing about. That's another reason why I love Mace Windu. They just don't mess about. You come across these sort of individuals in the galaxy, and they will you up. There's no messing, and he deals with the Inquisitors, and they don't come back. And it's just the example he sets to Ezra, and like you said as well, Dan. You're seeing a classic there, pulling off the moves. It's just incredible. And for animation, I get it. It's a lot easier to a degree, but for me, Star Wars is what's going on in my head as well as what I'm watching. So yeah, Jimmy, I'm going to start with you now, so Charlie don't steal your number 2.
Okay, because everyone's still on all mine. Number 2 is going to be the Maul, Kenobi, and Qui-Gon battle, right? Duel of the Fates,
Yeah,
music, and of course, I mean, just again, this is another Ray Park thing. Like he just does that little hand flick,
Yeah,
and just little
yeah,
things like that. We had really never seen the double bladed saber. I still can't believe they gave that away before. Like they should have just, yeah. We've talked about it at length on this show. Like the marketing people, because they gave away the ending with the music, Qui Gon's funeral or whatever.
yeah,
But that
Mm.
you come from being and watching the original trilogy, and like I said, Empire was good, and Return of the Jedi was a lot better too. You got some cool lightsaber stuff, but that took it to a level that I was in my 20s, and
yeah,
I've talked about it. Not a huge fan of those movies when they came out originally. I was kind of that angry age group guy. Then of course, I've grown out of it and was almost in tears during the re-release. But that battle just, it was like, whoa, they can do that. That's what growing up as a kid in the 80s and 90s, that's what we envisioned lightsaber battles to be. And so to get to see
yeah.
it finally for the first time, and then that music, just
Everything.
outstanding.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
that's my number two.
that's a
So
great shout.
Charlie, now that I hope, maybe did I steal yours, Charlie?
No, you didn't steal my number two. Don't worry about it. My second spot has to go to the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader fight in the Kenobi TV series.
Mm.
I have such a huge love for those two characters. I'm a huge prequels fan. I have been since I was very, very young. And to see the ultimate culmination of these two characters. This is a reunion that I wrote fan fiction about back in the day when I was like 13, 14 years old. I was so desperate for any kind of Star Wars content. So, and then I
Oh,
get it. I get exactly what I've always wanted, and it is perfect. It is powerful. It is raw. It is emotional. It moves me. It's everything I could have wanted, and it absolutely deserves my number two spot because it is just a mwah, perfection. Also, to see two masters of their craft back at it again. I also want to
Mm,
give a tiny little shout out to Nick Gilliard, who I don't know who often gets mentioned. He was the lightsaber choreographer and stunt coordinator for The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. And I'm sure he must have come back to do some bits for Kenobi. And he is the reason that lightsaber choreography looks so cool. It is his vision. And yeah, just absolutely 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
nice, great shout, great shout. What about you, Dan?
Well, I wanted to just add to Charlie about that duel, like at the end of that when the glowing is coming off of those pixel blades and how
Mm,
it turned from blue to red. Like that was accidental. Like that's just. Anyways, we all know that it's accidental, but it's just the way it's cinematically just made everything perfect. My number two is gonna be in Acolyte, the 5 versus 1 thing.
Yeah.
Seeing it was
nice.
the filmography was a bit challenging just because it was a little bit dark, so you really
Yep.
couldn't see just how dedicated Manny was to his role. But seeing the behind the scenes helped impress my appreciation for it. Where he's here, two other Jedi, and then he's over here, and there was 3 of them, and just the sweeping back and forth across such a I've just never seen anything like it. So yeah, that definitely hits my number two spot.
nice.
Nice, nice. Okay, so time for everybody's number one. Again, there's plenty out there. I'm pretty sure that someone here is gonna have the same one as me, or there's definitely gonna be some people with the same ones. Now, I've gone first twice now. Dan, I'm gonna come to you for your first one, and then once you're done, you're gonna nominate somebody. It can be me, it
All
can be
right,
Charlie or Jimmy, whatever you want to do. Go
sure.
ahead, Dan.
Okay.
What's your number one?
My number one has to be the duel, capital T, capital D, Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan versus Anakin. That has to just be my top because it not only was the best choreographed ever, but it was also it broke records for the longest fight scene in cinematic history
Hmm.
Yeah,
at the time, and it just the tragicness of it all and how it climaxes the entire storyline. It was just there. It was perfection, really. I mean, so that's got to be my top. I could go on. I could go
nice.
on and on about it, but Jimmy.
I'd like to give an honorable mention to Maul and Kenobi in Twin Sons episode. I kind of went off of like impact and stuff for this one, but that one
Yeah.
just, and I was kind of like the other most fans where I was like, what the hell? That's all we get. And then you start getting the breakdown
So
and you
much
start
talk.
thinking about stuff. But I'm going to go, well, with Dan's number, it's ironic you picked me, Dan, because your number 3 is my number 1. The Ahsoka versus Maul in season 7. I just recently was watching that in my wife, and I was like, they mocapped it, they did this, they did that, that glass breaks, that build up, you got the Anakin stuff. I mean, it's just everything that's happening and how it ties into Revenge of the Sith, and I think you're right too, because like now we know like what comes before it is really intense, what comes after it's really intense, but to think about rape, like you said, Ray Park, and doing all that stuff. So I mean, you could do that live action. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
not saying I want that by any means. I think it's perfect the way it is. The music again, I think really sets the tone. Kevin Kiner, he doesn't get enough credit. He was my number 1
Yeah.
Spotify artist of 2024, and a lot of it was the music from those scenes. But just and again, you hear Dave talking about how he learned from George about how usually growing up in the '80s with cartoons, there was cartoons and there was movies and TV shows, like these weren't shot the same, and it's like a movie, the different views, different angles we get, just I mean, absolutely gorgeous. I love it. It's one of those ones where I'll just go and I'll just turn on that episode, and then it's the dialogue, it's the intent behind it. I mean, he almost has her. You're like, what would that have been like?
Yeah.
Maul and Ahsoka together? Like, watch out. And then they just had, they just come to blows. And um, I love that. I love that fight scene. So just perfect for me. So I'm going to make Jack go last since he's gone first every time. So Charlie, you're up.
Oh my goodness. My first belongs to one that I think a few of you guys have mentioned now. It has to be the Duel of the Fates. Probably one of all the love for the final duel in Revenge of the Sith is absolutely breathtaking. But for me, with the Phantom Menace being my first Star Wars movie, it is specifically when they've built up all of the tension with the laser doors and coming through, and Kenobi is there and
Yeah.
they're fighting, and then everything stills, the camera locks in, and you watch Darth Maul ignite the second saber. And I don't know, there's something about the way it's shot, the tension, the building, the sound that the lightsaber makes. It just, like I've said earlier, it just encapsulates everything for me that makes Star Wars cool. It is an image and a fight that is burned into my brain, made more so by the sensational soundtrack. That song specifically, we all know it, we've all
Yeah.
mimicked it, we've all tried to do it ourselves. No one can do it. It's great. Yeah, it's just absolutely iconic. Of course, my number 1 spot belongs to that fight because my whole heart belongs to that film.
Great shout. Great shout. I think that's probably going to be everyone's number 1s. However, mine, again, similar to Charlie, was burned into my memory. And it's going to be Anakin and the Younglings. The quickest lightsaber. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. That'd be absolute savage of me to do that. Absolute savage. Could you imagine? Jeez.
Youngling
Nah,
Slayer
nah.
5000.
Yeah, yeah. Or the Tuscan Raider Village. No, absolutely not. No, so for me, I'd have to choose. God, there is really so many, but I'm going to go back to what Jimmy mentioned in Twin Sons for me. Again, I know it's another animation. Duel of the Fates is
Mm.
definitely up there for me, 110%. I'm also a fan of the Attack of the Clones one with Dooku and Yoda because it's the first time we saw Yoda bouncing around.
Cool.
But the Twin Sons one, there is so many snippets and Easter eggs, everything that's riding on that. Again, I know we know the outcome, but if it was done differently, you'd have different feelings, etc. Return of the Jedi with Luke and Vader was huge, but the biggest thing that got me, and I didn't realize this until I'd done a bit of research into it, watched it a few times, is Obi-Wan takes the stance of Qui-Gon, and Maul sees it, and Maul thinks, right, I've got you, I know exactly what you're doing.
Mhm.
And Obi-Wan then quickly changes it up a slightly, and that's what catches Maul out. And it's like that nod, to the prequels, and I'm like, that is genius. To put something like that in is absolutely outstanding.
It just shows the
Um,
difference between the dark side and the light side. Like
yeah,
he's learned and Maul has learned nothing in the 20
yeah,
years,
yeah.
So yeah, it's beautiful.
It's another great point, Jimmy. It encapsulates everything about the light and the dark, and the
Mhm.
two of them are coming to their end of the time, so to speak. I know Obi-Wan doesn't know it yet, but he hasn't got too long left. Um, but yeah, and then just that way, Obi-Wan holds him and then closes his eyes, and I'm sure Maul says, I don't know the line exactly, but it's like he will redeem us, or he will bring balance to the Force. And if you've watched everything up to that point, you're like, yeah, we need it. Another good shout out as well is going to be Maul Savage and Emperor Palps,
Savage, yeah,
or
that one's
Chancellor at
awesome.
that time. That's another awesome animation one. I love all the stuff in Visions as well. There's
Yes.
so many to choose from. And then we're just going to quickly now go into our listeners' comments. So, thank you again to everybody sending in their comments for this week's episode of the Lightsaber Battles. Before you find out what ours are, let's find out what yours are. So, starting with A New Hope, then dealing in absolutes, and Sydney said Vader and Obi-Wan in episode 4, A New Hope. Jangar Cosplay went for the Sentinel Reasons, episode 4, Darth Vader versus Kenobi. Slow but important. Absolutely agree. What else have we got, guys?
We have got for the Empire Strikes Back, we have got my fave, my bestie, Artie Darth slash Kevin, who said Darth Vader versus Luke in the Empire Strikes Back. We also had Lee the Tree say, Def the one pictured, the image that I used was of Luke and Vader. It's such a pivotal duel for Luke. Probs biased as ESB is my favorite.
We got a bunch of people for Return of the Jedi as well at Cardboard Cutout Cosplays. Simon, Filthy Casual Cosplay, and Dylan Does Cosplay / Jack. They all said Vader, Luke, Return of the Jedi. Excellent choice, folks. Excellent choice.
Yes. Also, some people have gone for the Phantom Menace, all choosing Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul in Duel of the Fates. Going for that one, we've got Gemma P. So Gemma, Scootleberry Scott, and Force Time
Me.
Pod.
We had one singular vote for Attack of the Clones, which I wasn't expecting, but shout out to Attack of the Clones, and also shout out to Ren Respawn slash Lauren, who's one of my besties, for saying Anakin versus Dooku on Geonosis. Such an iconic fight, not often that's spoken about, but still really, really, really good.
Great
Yeah, we
shout.
had a ton for
Oh
Revenge of the
my
Sith, which is
goodness.
kind of to be expected. We had at hello there underscore cosplay. Adam said Anakin versus Obi-Wan Battle of the Heroes will always be my favorite. It's top tier. Crimson underscore cosplay. Matt, he said Annie and Obi. We had Avenging Lion was pilot
Evangelion.
Evangelion. Okay, sorry. Pilot, that's Mel. Of course, Anakin and Obi-Wan. Spark of Madness cosplay. Ryan said 100,000,000% it's Anakin versus Obi-Wan on the Mustafar. The choreography, setting, music, emotion is just perfect. At Cardboard Cutout cosplay, you slip back in there with another one. Simon also
Yeah.
said Revenge of the Sith battle. Obi-Wan underscore Ken Broby. Mike for sheer spectacle. Obi
Mike.
versus Annie. And then AllSabers said the duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Fun fact, the 3D animated version fills in the deleted portions that were originally filmed. That happened off screen when Yoda and Palps fight. That's pretty cool. Fan in the Hat says duel on Mustafar, complemented by the Kef Beard duel and Tross. So there's a lot
Nice.
of people loving
You're doing
on.
well with the names again, Jimmy.
Oh my gosh.
Doing well with the names, man.
You're doing
I
such
swear
a
people
good
do this
job.
to you on purpose. Awesome. Right. The next one we've got is from The Force Awakens. We've got Mr. Tep Duck. So Tristan said Kylo versus Finn and Ray. Gave me goosebumps and shivers watching it in the cinema. Love that fight. As so did Chris, does vintage Chris, Ray and Kylo in The Force Awakens.
We had two people out here for The Last Jedi, which always makes me happy to see. We had my babes at Crimson Cosplay / Matt snuck in again with honourable mention to Snoke's throne room in The Last Jedi, and my gorgeous, gorgeous girlfriend dealing in absolute Sydney with Rey and Kylo versus the throne room in Episode 8, because of course she's going to pick The Last Jedi. That's my girl.
Yes. Lots of Clone Wars and Rebels as well at Octaven. Ahsoka versus Maul. We'll probably be hearing some more of that later. At Kenneth McLaren, Kenny said Maul versus Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars. It's a great one. At Poison Puff Cosplay, Luke, he said Obi-Wan versus Maul in Rebels. Got a lot for that one. I think we'll be hearing some more of that too. Obi-Wan / Ken Broby, Ken Broby, Mike, he said, for meaning and character, Obi versus Maul on Tatooine. Special shout out to KOTOR MMO trailers too, because they're bad ass.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are. Kenobi TV series has got a shout out from Mr. Tep Duck, Tristan. Both Obi-Wan and Vader fights in the Kenobi show were incredible.
We had singing cosplayer 01 Alex said that the Ahsoka TV series, the battle between Ahsoka and Anakin, absolutely brilliant choice.
Yes. And our last one, Visions, at basement _ Beskar _ cosplaying Eli. Vision Season 1, Episode 1 reminds me of the Kurosawa samurai films, and having just watched 13 Assassins for the second time, I can attest that is a beautiful connection that I didn't make until just now. So yeah, very cool. Awesome. Probably still my favorite Visions episode. And they're all awesome,
yeah.
so very cool.
Yeah. Some
A
absolutely fantastic shout outs. Go for it, Charlie.
A massive, massive thank you to everyone who replied to this story. I felt like I spent the entire day just constantly updating the guys on the pod, being like, we've had more answers. We've had even more answers, hence the reason I've got this whole table. So thank you to every single one of my amazing, wonderful, lovely followers who helped out with this segment of the show. You mean the world to me.
Yes, thank you. Keep the comments coming in. If you want to get your comments in, again, hit us up on the socials, email them in, exploretheforce@gmail.com. I love hearing all your thoughts, all your comments, and Jimmy absolutely slay your name. So keep them coming in.
For free, I do that, folks.
For free. He's so
Free
good.
of charge.
Okay, so that was the listeners' comments. As always, thank you very much for those that have chucked their comments in. Dan, thank you so much for giving up your time. I know obviously you've got a house full of ill people, so I wish you all the best. Hope you get a good, speedy recovery. But again, Dan, super appreciate your time, your efforts, everything that you're doing with AllSabers. Like we've mentioned on the podcast, if you're after a lightsaber, whether it's for your cosplay, for your children, not the youngling style, get over to AllSabers, explore the Force _10. Honestly, check out these incredible lightsabers that they've got over there. Dan, the floor is yours for another 2 or 3 minutes, buddy. Feel free to promote the company. Where can the listeners and the people that are watching on YouTube find you, buddy?
Cool. So you can find us we're on Instagram and Facebook. You'll find us at all.sabers is our typical name that we use. All.sabers on TikTok as well. We're on Blue Sky. All you have to do is look up AllSabers. We have our kind of domain all registered for it as well. Kind of figured all that out. And then our website, of course, allsabers.com. And we've got like this nice little video at the top as soon as you log in. Got a fun little claw game that'll give you a discount, possibly up to 25% off. So if you win, that kind of a deal. But it's just we want everyone to have fun. We want everyone to be able to swing around a saber and have a good time. So we'll find us.
Okay, so that wraps up this week's show.
A huge shout out to all of our new explorers. I know today I've let some people into our Facebook group. If you're not part of that, it's awesome. It's a safe place, no matter how you feel about Star Wars. As you know, Jack and I and a few other people, we kind of set the tone in that place. You're allowed to feel however you want, as long as you say it in a nice way. And people will disagree with you, but they'll do it in a polite way and they'll explain themselves. And that's what we've been looking for in a group. Facebook group is growing. Just look for Explore the Force on Facebook. Answer the questions. We'll let you in. Join the conversation. And again, Instagram, TikTok, everybody, like just like this, it's way more fun. And it's fun to see that like the stuff that we said, you're loving it as well. Just keep responding. Keep being part of the show. The whole reason we do this.
And remember to like this episode, share it with your Star Wars friends and family, and follow us on all of our social media platforms. All you have to do is search Explore the Force, all one word. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, please. All right. And for all of us and all the great lightsaber battles that we've seen, that we've watched, all the ones that are coming down into the future, we have spoken. We'll see you guys next week.
Only now, at the end, do you understand?
Close your eyes.
wise as Master Yoda, as powerful as Master Windu.
They'll do their job well. I'll guarantee that.
I am going to end this once and for all.
Chewie. We're home.
You were the chosen one!